Antarctica looks empty, endless white, silent, untouched. But beneath that silence, something doesn't add up. Miles below the frozen surface, far beyond where light can reach, scientists began detecting signals. Not random, not natural. Something smooth, something vast, hidden under layers of ice that have existed for millions of years. At first, it didn't make sense, because nothing should be there. No movement, no water, no life, just ice and time. But the data kept coming back the same, consistent, unexplained, as if something was waiting beneath the surface. A place completely sealed off from the world above, untouched by air, untouched by light, unchanged for longer than human history itself. And the deeper scientists looked, the more impossible it became to ignore. Because if they were right, then beneath Antarctica, there wasn't just ice, there was something else, something hidden. And that leads to a question we still don't have an answer to. What could survive in a place that hasn't seen the surface for millions of years? The first clue didn't come from what scientists saw, but from what they heard. In the 1960s, deep in Antarctica, Soviet researchers began running seismic experiments beneath their remote outpost Vostok Station. Explosive charges were detonated across the ice, sending waves deep below the surface. When those waves returned, something was wrong. Normally, solid rock scatters signals, rough, uneven, chaotic. But this time, the reflections were smooth. Too smooth, almost like a perfect mirror, buried kilometers below the ice. One of the key scientists analyzing this data, Andrei Kapitsa, realized what that meant. This wasn't rock. It couldn't be, because only one thing reflects seismic waves that cleanly: liquid, a lake, hidden beneath nearly 4 kilometers of solid Antarctic ice. At the time, the idea was almost impossible to accept. Liquid water, in one of the coldest places on Earth? The theory lingered in the background for years, quiet, uncertain, until technology caught up. In 1993, a joint British-Russian mission flew over the region using ice-penetrating radar. This time there was no ambiguity. The radar revealed a massive flat boundary beneath the ice, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Unlike ice, which produces jagged, irregular signals, this surface was perfectly smooth, consistent, continuous, unmistakable. By 1996, the conclusion was official. A vast subglacial lake had been discovered, nearly 250 kilometers long, about 50 kilometers wide, making it one of the largest lakes on Earth, completely hidden beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. They named it Lake Vostok, but the discovery didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the beginning of something far more unsettling, because this wasn't just a lake. It was a world sealed away for an estimated 15 to 25 million years. No sunlight, no atmosphere, no connection to the outside world. A place untouched by everything we know. And that raises a question scientists couldn't ignore. If nothing has entered that lake for millions of years, then what, if anything, has been living inside it this entire time? To reach the lake, you first have to survive the surface. Directly above it sits Vostok Station, established in 1957 by the Soviet Union. In the middle of the East Antarctic Ice Sheet, more than 300 kilometers from the South Pole, and completely cut off from the rest of the world. There are no nearby settlements, no emergency exits, just ice in every direction, and not just any ice, nearly 4 kilometers thick beneath your feet, and stretching endlessly to the horizon. At this elevation, over 3,400 meters above sea level, the air is thin, breathing is harder, thinking becomes slower, but it's the cold that defines this place. Winter temperatures drop below -60 degrees Celsius, and in 1983, this exact location recorded the lowest temperature ever measured on Earth, -89.2 degrees Celsius. At that point, machines begin to fail. Fuel thickens like gel, metal becomes fragile, almost glass-like. Even simple equipment can stop working without warning. Step outside unprotected, and exposed skin can freeze in seconds. But the physical conditions are only part of it. Because during the Antarctic winter, Vostok Station becomes completely isolated. No flights can land, no help can arrive. For months, a small team of around 20 to 30 researchers lives here, alone, no sunlight, no contact with the outside world, just darkness and silence. Day after day, night after night, The human mind isn't built for that kind of isolation. Over time, sleep cycles begin to break down. Focus becomes difficult. Emotions start to flatten. Some describe it as feeling detached, like the world outside no longer exists. And beneath all of it is a constant awareness. Because just below the station, far beneath the frozen ground they walk on every day, lies something no one has ever seen directly. A vast hidden lake sealed away for millions of years. The researchers above live in one of the harshest environments on Earth. But the real unknown is what exists beneath them. And in a place this extreme, it forces a question that's hard to ignore. If humans struggle to survive on the surface, what kind of conditions exist in the darkness below? Beneath Vostok Station, the ice doesn't just end. It continues, down and down, for nearly 4,000 meters. A frozen barrier so thick, it took nature millions of years to build. And under that weight, something enormous is trapped. Lake Vostok isn't a small pocket of water. It is vast, roughly 250 kilometers long, about 50 kilometers wide, covering an area close to 15,000 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, it's comparable in size to one of the largest lakes in North America. But unlike any lake we know, this one has never seen the sky, never felt wind, never reflected sunlight. It exists in complete darkness, and yet it isn't frozen. Despite temperatures above it dropping to around minus 55 degrees Celsius, the lake remains liquid, held in that state by two forces working together: the immense pressure from the ice above and heat slowly rising from the Earth's crust below. Just enough to keep the water from turning solid, but that creates an environment unlike anything on the surface. Inside Lake Vostok, pressure reaches between 350 and 400 atmospheres. That's hundreds of times greater than what the human body is built to handle. And then, there's something even more unusual. Oxygen. Scientific models suggest the lake could contain oxygen levels up to 50 times higher than typical freshwater lakes. At first, that might sound like a good thing, but in reality, it makes survival even harder. High oxygen levels create an extremely oxidative environment, one that can damage cells, break down biological structures, and destroy life that isn't adapted to it. So now, combine everything: crushing pressure, total darkness, extreme oxygen concentration, an environment completely sealed off for millions of years, by every normal standard. This is a place where life shouldn't exist. And yet, on this planet, life has a way of rewriting the rules. We've already found organisms thriving in deep ocean vents, in boiling water, in frozen deserts, in places once thought impossible. So the idea isn't absurd anymore. It's unsettling. Because if life did find a way to survive here, it wouldn't just be isolated. It would be different, evolving separately for millions of years, with no connection to the surface world, which leads to a question that becomes harder to ignore the deeper we look. If something is living in that lake, how far has it drifted from everything we know as life? Finding Lake Vostok was one thing, reaching it was something else entirely. Because between the surface and that hidden world below stood nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice, and drilling through it wasn't just difficult, it was dangerous. Not for the people above, but for whatever might be below. The first drilling operations at Vostok Station began decades earlier, in the 1970s and 80s. At the time, scientists weren't searching for the lake. They were studying Earth's past. Layer by layer, they extracted ice cores, each one holding tiny bubbles of ancient air, frozen snapshots of Earth's atmosphere, stretching back over 400,000 years. It was like reading a climate archive, written in ice. But as the drill went deeper, the objective changed, because now they knew what was waiting below. By 1998, the drill had reached a depth of 3,623 meters, just 120 meters away from penetrating the lake itself. And that's when everything stopped. Not because they couldn't go further, but because the world stepped in. Scientists across the globe raised alarms. The drilling process used fluids, kerosene mixed with freon, to keep the borehole from collapsing under pressure. But if that mixture entered the lake, it could contaminate an environment that had remained untouched for up to 25 million years. A single mistake could permanently alter a sealed ecosystem, and there would be no way to reverse it. Two sides formed quickly. One pushed forward. The chance to discover entirely new forms of life, to study an isolated biosphere, to answer one of science's biggest questions, was too important to ignore.
The other side
Argued for caution. Some places, once disturbed, can never be restored, so the drilling stopped. And for over a decade, Lake Vostok remained just out of reach, close enough to touch, but deliberately left alone, until 2012. After years of debate, a new approach was finally attempted. This time, they wouldn't drill directly into the lake. Instead, they stopped just above it, and waited because deep below, pressure inside the lake was immense, far greater than anything at the surface. When the drill breached the final layer, that pressure forced lake water upward into the borehole, rising slowly until it met the freezing temperatures above and turned into ice, sealing itself. A natural plug, clean, untouched by surface contaminants. For the first time in human history, material from Lake Vostok had reached the surface, not by force, but by the lake itself pushing outward. And in that frozen column was something scientists had waited decades to see. Because whatever was trapped inside it had just come from a world that had been sealed away for millions of years, which leaves one question hanging in the air. What exactly had they just brought back from the depths? The sample didn't look extraordinary, just a column of ice, clear, frozen, silent. But inside it was something that hadn't touched the surface for millions of years. When scientists began analyzing the core, they weren't looking for anything dramatic, just chemistry, minerals, maybe traces of simple compounds. But then they found something else, DNA, tiny fragments, buried within the frozen water. At first it was subtle, sequences that resembled known bacteria, microbial signatures, similar to organisms found in extreme environments on Earth, places with no sunlight, high pressure, hostile conditions. It made sense. If life existed in Lake Vostok, this is what it would look like. Small, resilient, adapted. But then the data became harder to explain. Some genetic sequences didn't match anything in existing databases, not partially, not closely, just unknown. For a moment, it felt like confirmation that something truly isolated, something completely separate from known ecosystems, might exist beneath the ice. But science doesn't accept maybe, because there was a problem, one that couldn't be ignored. Contamination. The same drilling process that brought the sample up had also introduced foreign materials into the system. Kerosene, freon, surface microbes. Even in small amounts, it was enough to cast doubt over everything, so the discovery split the scientific community. Some believed the DNA was real, evidence of microbial life in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Others argued it was compromised, that what they were seeing wasn't from the lake at all, and without certainty, the conclusion remained out of reach. But that wasn't the only mystery, because beneath the lake, something else had already been detected. Unusual magnetic anomalies, signals that didn't fully align with known geological structures. They could be natural, mineral formations, distortions in measurement, or something else entirely. No one knew for sure. And when you combine that with unidentified genetic sequences, the picture becomes even more unclear. Because now the question isn't just whether life exists down there. It's how much we truly understand about what we've already found. A sealed world, unexplained data, evidence that might be real or might not. And that uncertainty is what makes Lake Vostok so unsettling. Because if even a fraction of those findings are genuine, then something has been living, evolving, alone beneath the ice, for millions of years. And that leads to a question scientists still can't answer with confidence. Are we looking at contamination, or the first glimpse of a completely unknown form of life? Lake Vostok is not just a discovery on Earth, it's a reference point. Because the conditions inside this lake, darkness, extreme pressure, complete isolation beneath thick ice, are not unique in the universe. They exist elsewhere. One of the clearest examples is Europa, a moon of Jupiter. Its surface is covered in solid ice. Beneath that ice, data suggests a vast global ocean. No sunlight reaches it. Pressure is immense. And like Lake Vostok, it may have been sealed off for millions of years. This is why scientists study places like Vostok so carefully, not because it's easy to access, but because it isn't. It represents an environment where life, if it exists, must survive without sunlight, without direct contact with the atmosphere, relying on chemical energy instead of photosynthesis. This type of system is known as chemosynthesis, and it already exists on Earth, in deep ocean vents, far below the reach of light. So the scientific question is precise. If microbial life can survive in isolated extreme environments on Earth, then similar conditions elsewhere in the solar system may also support life. But Lake Vostok introduces a complication, because despite all the models, all the comparisons, there is still no confirmed evidence of life inside it. Not yet, which means before scientists can confidently extend these ideas to other worlds, they need clear, uncontaminated answers here first. And that's exactly what makes this lake so important. It's not speculation. It's not theory. It's a real environment, accessible, but not fully explored. A controlled way to test one of the biggest scientific questions ever asked. Can life exist in complete isolation, beneath ice, without sunlight? Until that question is answered with certainty, missions to places like Europa remain incomplete in one critical way. Because the closest example we have is still here on Earth, still sealed, still uncertain, and still waiting to be fully understood. Which leaves one final grounded question. If we haven't confirmed life in Lake Vostok yet, what does that mean for the search beyond our planet? Decades have passed since the first signal came back from beneath the ice, a smooth reflection, impossible to explain at the time. And even now, after discovery, after drilling, after samples, Lake Vostok is still largely untouched. What lies beneath that 4-kilometer barrier remains mostly hidden, because reaching it safely is still one of the most difficult challenges in modern science. Today, researchers are developing new methods, sterile drilling systems designed to avoid contamination completely, autonomous probes capable of entering extreme environments without human interference. Not to rush in, but to approach carefully, because this isn't just exploration anymore, it's responsibility. Once that sealed world is opened, it can never be sealed again. And yet, the questions haven't gone away. They've only become sharper. Were the DNA traces real, or just contamination from the surface? What caused the magnetic anomalies beneath the lake? And if life does exist there, what state is it in right now? Alive, dormant, or something we don't yet understand? Because time works differently in isolation. In a place cut off for millions of years, evolution doesn't stop. It adapts, silently, slowly, without ever being seen. Somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice, there may be an ecosystem that has never interacted with the rest of life on Earth. Not once. And that possibility changes how we look at our own planet, because it suggests that even here, in places we thought were fully explored, there are still worlds we haven't reached, still environments we don't understand, still questions without answers. Lake Vostok isn't just a lake. It's a boundary between what we know and what we don't. And right now, that boundary is still intact, still frozen, still silent, waiting. Because whatever is down there, whether it's nothing or something entirely new, has been alone for a very long time, and maybe it still is. If you want to explore more hidden places like this, subscribe, because some secrets are still waiting to be discovered.